About a year and a half into my journey of video making, I sought out a diagnosis of ADHD. Now, I personally knew that I had ADHD from childhood, but I wanted to go on the medication because I was struggling to keep up with the workflow. At this point, I was prescribed Vyvanse and Dexedrine. Dexedrine is basically like a slightly more neurotoxic version of Adderall. Initially, I kept my dosing down to, it was once or twice a week. And during my Vyvanse days, I would get a shit ton of work done. That's basically all I would do. I'd work for about 13, 15 hours straight, often missing meals. Sometimes I would even refrain from using the bathroom. Now, when you're taking something like Vyvanse, which is just basically speed, it's amphetamine, guys, your brain likes to find any reason it can to dose more. There's two sides of an addictive personality: the side that knows better and the side that's constantly looking to get, well, high, even if the excuse of feeling those highs is to do work. And I would largely say that's what happened to me. In the wake of my channel being potentially taken down, I started using more and more Vyvanse, and it was at this point that my personality began to make more and more negative shifts. I don't like to say that it's all the drug, because a drug is simply a band-aid for some underlying issues. For instance, my inability to focus doing work isn't necessarily just because my brain produces too little dopamine, as something like Vyvanse would suggest. It could also just be as simple as I was no longer enjoying the kind of work I was doing. I had strayed away from my purpose, and I needed a drug to keep me interested. Now, I'd have little moments of clarity, such as when I made my video tripping at a hippie festival. That was my first time having a good LSD trip since my nightmare experience, which was 2.5, 3 years ago now. Splashes of the real me began emerging slowly more and more throughout the last year and a half, but they were largely overshadowed by just this newly formed purely hedonistic Adam that a lot of you guys have seen in the videos. And the videos got more and more goofy, progressively more and more goofy, as I got progressively more and more depressed with my life and more overwhelmed. I was using the silliness and the humor as a way to cover up how I was feeling. So the more depressed I got, the more exaggerated my videos got. And a lot of you guys noticed this, and you noticed that there was a very real dramatic shift from the psych substance that first started making content to the psych substance that you've seen as little as 2 months ago. It wasn't just the kind of videos I was making that shifted, it was everything about me. The amphetamines were causing me to be overly arrogant. It's no lie that I was completely putting work above family. There were people in my life that really needed me, and the end result of me not being there, well, I mean, I can't, it's not all my fault. If you follow me on Instagram, I don't want to get into it, then you know that I've been away from videos for the past 2 weeks, and the reasons are very private. I will share one of the reasons. It is because my partner, Jasmine, is pregnant, and she's actually due in less than a month. So I'm going to have another little munchkin running around here soon. And Vyvanse Adam is not the version of Adam that I wanted present for anyone's life, simply because he wasn't present at all for anything but himself. Again, when you're doing business, it's easy to say the excuse to yourself that it's to benefit your family, but really the gains are more temporary in nature, as they're just benefiting your immediate cravings of pleasure and instant gratification. I mean, I take the Vyvanse, and the most exciting part of completing a video wasn't the actual producing of it or writing it or whatever went into it. It was reading your comments and getting those little dopamine spikes of, oh, look, he liked the video. Oh, that feels great. Next one. And then you're just like this fucking gremlin staring at your screen, getting hit fucking shit full of dopamine hits that's already being shot through your system from the Vyvanse that's tickling those receptors, and then you're just high as fuck all day long off comments and messages and just being an overall douchebag to everybody in your life. As my family life started to deteriorate, I started to feel more and more like I had to stop. Not just stop taking the Vyvanse, but to also stop the direction that my thoughts were going in. Like the kind of thinking that got me to take Vyvanse as frequently as I was, which again was the prescribed amount, but taking that daily is fucked. Anyone who's taken it knows you don't want to take that shit daily. It really fucks you up. Anyway, I realized that I needed to change, and I was going to lose my family. I'm not going to sugarcoat this. I'm just going to lay it all out flat. I was going to lose everybody and everything that I thought I loved. The reasons for me even really starting making YouTube was for my family and also my extended family, all you lovely people who I like keeping safe and who I appreciate and who, I care about all of you guys. Even Vyvanse Adam cared about you. That wasn't a lie. He just cared about himself a little bit more. Well, I was going to lose everything. Then I started to realize that I was probably going to lose my life as well. Taking drugs that are hard on your cardiovascular system, and I wasn't really exercising at this time either, well, it's no surprise that shortens your life. As someone who prides themselves in always being honest 100% with at least them, I couldn't cover up this lie any longer. I knew that I had to change my whole lifestyle and begin living healthy. And that is why, since that first little tickle of a trip back at Shambhala over a year ago, I was constantly pressuring myself in the back of my head to have another LSD trip. And with the rise of this new baby coming into my life, I realized that I needed to change and fast. And I didn't want to trip just because I was scared. The thought of ego death, which is something that I'm inclined to have even on small doses. It's like once that door opens, I've said it never fully closes. Well, that terrified me, largely because you guys know from my stories, my girlfriend's never really there for me, and she was my go-to trip sitter. It started to become bleakly apparent that if I was going to have a good trip, and if I was going to get over not only the shit that I was personally going through, but my fear of tripping, I was going to have to do it alone. So 5 months back, when I made my video, the LSD simulation, I had that one trip, which I made a video about on Swim, where I made these little shrines to myself of like Kratom and Vyvanse, and I said like, I need help. That was definitely putting my whole leg in the water. Just to be clear, trips for me are like a wake-up call. They present me all of my problems in life in a way that I can no longer escape or turn from. They make it deathly apparent that change is of the utmost urgency. So I had that trip, and then 2 or 3 months after that, I finally convinced myself to go back in. Now, you do need multiple trips, just off topic, to truly heal. When you have an ayahuasca retreat, you're drinking ayahuasca every other night or every night for 1 to 2 weeks. So there's multiple ceremonies in place. And you have a range of different experiences, from blissful, pleasant, to terrifying, to just absolutely life-changing. And that occurs due to you carrying thoughts and realizations from one experience into the other. So drugs like LSD can be used as healing, and I haven't talked about this enough, videos on this to come, but you really do have to have a series of experiences, and you do have to design your LSD excursion, LSD retreat, as if it was an ayahuasca retreat, and treat every experience as it is some deep healing for your soul. So anyway, I finally convinced myself one night at around 10:30 p.m., when everyone was asleep, that now that no one needed me and I was completely left to my own vices, I was going to trip. I don't know how I convinced myself to do it. I was freaking terrified. When you have a bad trip like I did, it's always in the back of your head, like, what if I completely lose my mind and just throw myself under a bus, literally. So I had trip killers. I had some diazepam as my escape rope. Basically, if you're having paranoid thoughts, you take a diazepam and it snaps you out of it. This was the beginning of the end to Bad Adam. This was the experience that launched me down the path that I'm currently on. I'd like to summarize the experience as just terrifying. From start to finish, I was freaked the fuck out. I was entering ego death state, and in a complete panic, I ended up taking my trip killer. There's really not much to say about that experience, except I I tried to look at the positives afterwards and say, congratulations, man, at least you had your head in the right place. You wanted to change and you did it. You might have jumped ship a little early, but you did it. So I began preparations for the next experience, which I knew had to be more thought out in order to be more beneficial for me. So I came up with this great idea that I was going to write down on my whiteboard everything that I was hoping to gain from it. My only real expectations were that I was going to face my problems, so that's safe to do. So I wrote down the problems I wanted to face, and then I had the bright idea that as I was coming up, like right after I dosed, I would write myself notes and I would put them all over the wall. Just positive stuff like, you are going to be okay, I love myself, you're going to come back better than before, so that when I was losing myself, all I had to do was look around the room and I would see all these handwritten notes from yours truly to help calm me down and just allow me to let go of my sense of self. And to summarize this experience, fuck, it worked. I remember one of the rules of the trip was I was not allowed to take a trip killer, and I was not allowed to try to wake up my girlfriend for help. No matter how scary it got, I had to sit there and face it. Now, when the trip did start getting into the ego death territory, I sat on my couch. I had Spongle's Nothing Lasts But Nothing Is Lost album playing, which is, hands down, it is my favorite album to play on the peak. I was just letting the experience take hold of me. I was just letting go of needing to hold on. I needed to become healthy for my family and also for all of you people watching my videos. I have to be a good example of the things that I preach. I mean, if I'm not practicing what I preach, then what fucking good am I? This trip finally unlocked a new door for me into my own ability to understand myself. After I got through the peak just by meditating and focusing on my breathing, I got up off the couch and I walked into the bathroom and I proceeded to look at my reflection in the mirror. And who I was met with wasn't who I wanted to be. LSD can kind of distort your facial features, and it was twisting and rearranging my face into not a pretty sight. I was an uglier version of myself. I could see all of my bullshit pouring out of my eyes like a faucet was turned on high. There was no escaping the lies and the fact that I was going to lose my family and that people I love needed me and I wasn't able to be there for them because I was too busy living this pleasure-seeking hedonistic lifestyle fueled by fucking amphetamines and instant gratification and all the things that I used to hold dear, like exercising, things that might feel painful at the time but give you the long-term goals, which is what's important in life. It's not about feeling good right now. It's about true reward, which comes from a lot of work and dedication. And I could see that the part of me that used to enjoy that process had died. And who was looking back at me in the mirror was more like a scared little boy. Someone who had been so deeply scarred by life and, say, bad trips that he had no idea how to confidently handle himself, how to be a leader anymore. He was pretending to be a leader, but it was a mask just made out of bullshit. Made out of fucking Vyvanse. Fake confidence. And I could see that person had to go. So I began being more honest with myself. I left and I took the marker and I went to some of the notes. For instance, the note that said, what did it say? It said, I trust myself, and I scratched it out and I said, no, this is a lie. I did not trust myself, insinuating that I was starting to trust myself now. Long story short, I succeeded. I felt dramatically shifted after that experience. I was on very pure LSD. I mean, stuff that just replaces your entire visual field with morphing geometric hallucinations and patterns just emerging and exploding out of absolutely everything you looked at. It was a very intense experience. It's not like I'm taking microdoses here, guys. I'm taking ego death doses, okay? But I reached my goal. I faced myself in the mirror. For a solid hour, I stared. And I communicated with my subconscious mind through reading my subtle facial shifts. And I ended up not needing a trip killer. In fact, as the peak reached its terrifying heights, I went to my drawer, grabbed the bottle, shaking, and I thought with every fiber of my being, oh my God, if I don't take this, then I don't know what's going to happen. How will I trust myself? And that was the main fear I had. Was in the past, say my nightmare trip where I completely lost control. I thought, if I don't end this trip right now, what if I lose control again? And this happens to people. It's very sad, but on high doses of psychedelics, people have killed themselves, committed suicide. It's not like it turns them into bad people who hurt others. Oh no, the main target is always themselves because they can't see any other way out of the trip. And that's what I was afraid of, because I had suicidal thoughts in the past just because I was in so much fear. And it reached the point where I no longer recognized my own mind. And that's when the fear kicked in, because you go, if I don't recognize who I am, intrinsically who I am anymore, whose heart is beating beneath this chest, then how do I know or not know what I'm fucking capable of? So the trip killer was necessary. What if I killed myself? Because that's how I was feeling. That's how much pain and fear I was in. But as I poured that trip killer into my palm out of that bottle and looked at it, it was as if the previous acid trip had flipped a switch, because all I needed was that one little voice that said, no, don't do it. I looked at this trip killer, about to take it, and what stopped me was that voice. It said, if you take this trip killer right now, the entire experience that you've been enduring for the past hour or two, for your life up to this point, the shit that you've been putting yourself through that you want to stop, it's going to keep happening. And this whole trip was for nothing. I took a deep breath, closed my eyes, fought the need to take this pill. I put it back in the bottle, walked over to the cabinet, plopped it on the shelf, closed the cabinet, stepped back to my couch, dropped my ass down, closed my eyes, turned the volume up on the spangle, and I took some deep breaths. I decided right there and then that whatever person emerged through the darkness that was the death of my ego, I was going to greet him, open arms, give him a hug, and tell him he was loved. And that's just what I fucking did. I emerged victorious out of that experience. I didn't once try to wake up Jasmine for help. I didn't take the trip killer, even though I was on the edge of catastrophe. And the next day I was fine. In fact, I greeted my partner, and I had told her. She thought that I didn't come to bed because I was working all night, off 5 ants like I had done so many nights before, in which she was fed up with because she missed me. She needed a partner who cared about her. So she greeted me angrily. And then when I told her what I actually did with a smile on my face, she was shocked. She's like, what? I didn't even know. I had no idea. I thought you were working. I'm thinking in the back of my head, yeah, it's because I didn't wake you up this time. Yes! I fucking did it. I had an intense experience, and I took care of me. I didn't need a trip sitter. I didn't need anybody to tell me I was okay. I told myself I was okay. Using logic, using notes written and plastered across the room that I could look at when I started panicking. I kept myself safe. And that was the momentum I needed leading into the next and final experience, which finally turned that combination, turned that lock, opening it up, and releasing old Adam back from bondage. Bad Adam is dead. I went into this next experience with the intent of killing Bad Adam. Now, I know a lot of you guys probably think that sounds terribly fucked up, and I shouldn't separate my personality into two things. Not only does he look like the guy from Split, he is the guy from Split. No. The intent was true. I had to change the bad habits. Bad Adam was just synonymous with all of the nasty shit that I was doing to my body and the way I was treating the people I loved. Now, not to go too far into this trip, because that's a gosh darn story in itself. Essentially, I took a very different approach. Whereas the first one that I ended up taking full care of myself, during that experience, I wrote positive notes on the wall. I still had all those positive notes up. This time I was ready to face the fucking music. I took a permanent marker, okay? And I went to the notes as the peak was kicking in, and I scratched them all out, replacing them on the wall, mind you, with things that were a little less pleasant in comparison. Stuff like, I hate myself. I hate you. Let Adam go. Let him go. You care more about physical objects than people. It was time to unleash the brutal honesty that I've always had deep within my fucking nature. And I just let hell loose all upon me, with full intent of taking it to heart and not turning away from the reality of what I had allowed my life to become. These messages were not nice, guys, and they were true. I started writing, I hate myself repeatedly. I hate myself. I hate you. I hate you. How could you do this? I hate what you've become. I hate what I've become. Let him go. Let Adam go. And then I took the marker and I started writing on my fucking stuff that I spent all this precious money to buy, that I was working so hard on YouTube to keep acquiring new cameras and new computers to make better YouTube videos so I can keep living in a life of fucking instant gratification and dodge the whole purpose I started this goddamn shit to begin with. I took the marker to the back of my keyboard, expensive iMac, $7,000 iMac, and I wrote, I will continue to destroy all of your precious electronics until you decide to wake up. Next keyboard, all over it. I will destroy everything. I went to the computer itself, wrote on the computer, permanent marker, if you do not stop this, if you do not wake up and stop hurting yourself and others and stop consuming these drugs that you know are doing nothing but harm to your body and your family through your incompetence of paying attention to them and giving them attention they need, next time, I'm going to take a knife and I'm going to slash the fucking screen off. I turned to the walls. I destroyed a lot of shit in that room, okay? Like, I needed to send myself a message. I even wrote on one of them, on my desk, my expensive desk that hydraulically lifts up and down. I wrote on it. I can't remember. I just lost my train of thought. What did I write on the desk? Just same shit. I will destroy everything. I will continue to ruin everything you love. No. I wrote on it, this is permanent marker. You can't wash this off in the morning. I love you. That's why I'm doing this. I'm destroying all of this garbage out of love. And I do mean garbage. Yeah, expensive computer. Money can't fucking buy your family back. I was losing mine. Wasn't even living with them. I had been sentenced to an Airbnb. That's how much things had reached a head, and that's how asleep I was. I had been banished from my own home. Which, of course, my brain uses as an excuse to work even harder, because it goes, now I gotta pay rent for 2 places, so yeah. Always finding those little excuses to take more drugs to keep the fucking pleasure going. Fuck that shit. Done with that shit. I faced myself in the mirror during that experience, and I saw who I really was. I was ugly. I'm not afraid to say it. Yes, I had redeeming qualities. Yes, my true self was still there. The part of me that cared about people was still there. But he was so plastered with this heavy mask of bullshit. I could smell my own shit a mile away. All I had to do was look at that reflection and just... You're a liar, man. You're a fucking liar. If you don't practice what you preach in this life, your word means nothing. And if your word means nothing, you mean nothing. Your actions and your words must line up in synchrony. Now, it's okay to make mistakes. We all make mistakes. But making mistakes for years on end and still thinking that you're doing the right thing under this guise of shit is not the kind of person that I want to present myself to be, meaning it's not the person I want to be. If the person you're presenting is different from the person at your core that you're acting like underneath the surface, then there's a fucking problem that needs some fucking changing. In a lot of ways, I learned a lot, but in other ways, I had gone way too far down this road. It was time to remember why I started making videos. It was time to remember why I enjoyed living life. It was time to reevaluate how I felt about my loved ones and my family and stop being naive to the amount that they really did need me, because everyone in my life was depressed and going through so much of their own shit that I was also going through too much shit to be there for them. I had to sacrifice my own needs and wants to be there for the people that I love, first and foremost. and I had to do it now because time's a ticking. You don't want to bring a new child into an unhealthy family. I realized that mentally I was not at the best I could be. I was not entirely healthy. And if you're mentally not healthy, how the fuck do you expect your kids to be mentally healthy? It's not going to happen. You have to be the best version of yourself for your family to feed off that. Kids are little sponges. They pick up everything out of the little nuances, tendencies, thoughts that you really feel about yourself. That's going to transfer over to them, and you're going to build up kids with the same problems and shit that you have. I have my mom's shit. She's a worry fucking word anxiety mongrel. That's who I can be. I can be that same anxious filled person. I got it from her. It takes so long to just release your past. Release these traits that were not your choosing, that were given to you by your family. It's your karma to let it go in every sense of the word karma, the real sense of the word. You gotta let that go. I realized so much that trip. It was like another switch just flipped on, and there was no turning back after that. There was no going back to the old me. And this is personal, but the next morning, what happened was indescribable. The kind of thing that you don't expect to happen on a trip. Just one of those insane synchronicities that absolutely forces you to take your entire experience as bloody gospel, like I was talking to the burning acacia bush as Moses himself did. The next morning, synchronicity just tied it all together, and once again, I didn't need Jasmine to help me. I didn't even consider a trip killer, even though I had put myself in a bad headspace. In fact, I needed to take it further, and I needed to further face my fear. And during the experience, I also consumed N,N-dimethyltryptamine to just reach that point of ultimate realization. The mix of LSD and DMT it's a mind-bending experience. But that part of the story, the DMT with LSD trip, I'm going to save for another video, because this video's gone on far too long, and that is one heck of a story, man. But that also was like that, doing that, letting go and just collapsing on the carpet as I was scared, mind you, absolutely petrified of the DMT. It scared the fucking balls off me, but still doing it and just letting go as best I could and facing what I had become and making the tough decision to do what was necessary to make the changes that were needed, deathly needed. Well, it was all worth it, man. It was all worth it. And since that experience has passed, I mean, if you guys follow me on Instagram, you know that for other reasons I have taken the past 2 weeks off work. This video will be me returning back to YouTube and returning back to form. Well, the changes that I've made are... there's a part of me that doesn't want to talk about it, because there's this thing that I believe in where when you say something new that you're doing, or you share an idea, or you share your story of growth to the T, it removes power from it. It's like where people think that if they tell everyone they're on a diet, it's going to actually help them stay on a diet, but instead it puts all this pressure on them to do the diet now that everyone knows where they fail, because that's a trigger for them, the pressure, and they don't realize the underlying subconscious mechanisms is they told people because they're addicted to eating and they're addicted to the failure feeling, and it's all this big cycle of shit that they're stuck in. It's a loop. So there's a part of me that knows that, so I'm not going to boast and tell you guys just all of the things that I'm doing that I wasn't before and how great it feels to finally have that determination and motivation again. But I can't even sit here and say that I'm back, because there was a lot of aspects of the me who used to work out regular and who used to enjoy pushing his boundaries and who used to enjoy challenging himself, say with running or at the gym. There's aspects of that person that were really ugly that with the help of psychedelics, I have now come full circle and I've changed. So I can't say I'm back to being the old Adam, but I can say I'm in the process of taking little bits from every version of myself and applying them to the present to create what I believe to be my strongest version. And the strongest version of yourself is a work always in progress, because if you're not progressing in life, you're regressing. And I am now bound through these Lucy DiMeTry experiences and through this channel to help the world. I am bound on this journey of growth for the rest of my life. And this is a path now that I have rediscovered, that I was lying to myself before, that I thought I was on, but no, I had strayed far from it, and I'm not getting off the path now. Suffice to say, I don't take Vyvanse anymore. Not only do I not take it, but the urge to consume it, gone, just whisked away. One of those magic anti-addictive qualities of psychedelics. It's the same as in the past, how it made me quit smoking. And when I quit smoking from intense psychedelic trip, it wasn't like I felt forced to quit. Instead, what it did was it changed how I thought about the cigarettes. So it was slow. A week after the trip, I was smoking and I started thinking like, I don't even like these. What am I doing this for? So I made the actual decision to quit smoking because my feeling around the cigarettes changed. That's what happened again with the Vyvanse. My feelings around consuming it has changed. I did take Vyvanse after that experience. This is some real shit, man. As much as I thought I wouldn't, I did. And then I thought, wow, it didn't work. But then, sure enough, 3 or 4 doses later, progressively with each time, I started feeling more and more different about the Vyvanse. And then it clicked. I was like, whoa, hold the fucking phone. This is what happened with smoking, the same thing. And I went, okay, yeah, I remember this. I really don't feel like I need this Vyvanse. I'm really feeling these negatives way more than the positives. The cons outweighed the pros, and then I let it go. On my own accord, for my own free will. I released it. I took the bottles, I dumped them down the drain, I hit flush, wiped my hands clean. Vyvanse Atom, nevermore. I've been doing a lot of reflection and personal growth, and it's insane, the changes. I feel different. On every level, I feel changed. I feel better, stronger, more capable of facing this world with a healthy outlook, and less like a lying piece of scum. More importantly, I don't feel that same sense of unjustified ego as I did. When I started YouTube, I always had in the back of my head to not let any potential fame get to me, to always stay humble. And try staying humble when you're taking Vyvanse 4 or 5 or 6 times a week. It really pulls that ego out of you, and hard. Now, I was going way too much into ego, and not anymore. I feel forever humbled. Psychedelics are the great equalizer, because by golly, they humbled the shit out of me. And the videos that you're going to see from here on out are going to be different. Unless they're videos that I made from before, which I'm conflicted to release. I probably still will. I have a lot of videos that I made pre-changed Atom, Vyvanse Atom, that are still in the works to be released. Maybe I'll put like a little note in the corner that'll just flash on the screen to let you guys know that this is, what do I call it? I'll call myself Vyvanse Atom. This is the VA Atom. Oh, Vyvanse. Yeah. I'll figure it out. I'm not too concerned. I'm still probably going to post some of those videos that were done. I don't want to be that hard on myself. I mean, it's the truth. It's something I went through. And it's something I need, and it's something that I've healed from, and I'm stronger because of it. So I don't even regret all of that. Anyway, guys, I hope you could take away something from this and apply it to yourself. And maybe if you currently are the reflection of what Vyvanse Atom was, maybe you can use some of this to help you in your own life. Because I do have to digress. It wasn't just one LSD trip. It was started with the one that started just trickling. The waters of change started trickling down, and then they became a waterfall after I hit that 4th or 5th experience. But it took that many experiences to get those wheels turning and to get me to change. Anyway, if you enjoyed this video, You know what to do. I love you guys. Love all you guys who are supporting us on Patreon. Your support keeps me going. You guys are all phenomenal. I'm sorry that I strayed so far away from who I was for a while. I mean, YouTube really got to me. YouTube changed me. It did. YouTube changed me. But not anymore. YouTube changed me, and then the acid changed me again. Such is life. Just the wheels of change never stop spinning. See you guys later.